Hello, everybody, and welcome to 10-Minute Elections. I am coming to you on the other side of the 2020 election, as here I have pulled up my my going into election day 2020 forecast, and I will break it down and go through what actually happened, as well as the changes I will make to my how I forecast different states going forward. Anyway, today is Wednesday, November 11th. Election day was 8 days ago, but we didn't know the results for a while. The president-elect of the United States is Joe Biden, and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, although not quite by this margin. So we're just going to go through the different states and see what happened on the presidential level. There will be a Senate and House video coming out soon because the House, there's actually a lot to unpack, and the Senate there is as well. Depending on how much I want to talk about the House, I'll either lump those into one a little bit longer video or maybe keep those at two 10-minute videos. So I only actually called two states wrong on election day, and those were the states of North Carolina and Florida. So we're going to get to those, but first, again, we always just start on the West Coast, so let's do it. Hawaii, very safe state, went to Joe Biden easily. Alaska, I have as likely, and there's a lot of votes still out. A lot of it is going to be mail-in balloting, so that will probably swing Democratic, although Alaska's really always a wild card in terms of that. It makes Nevada look extremely predictable. But it's genuinely hard to say at this point if Alaska is going to be a safe or likely result because we still have 25% of the vote out, and that 25% of the vote is going to lean Democratic, presumably. Washington, Oregon, and California. I had them all going by safe margins, and indeed they did, including Oregon, which went Joe Biden by, as with the votes we have right now, 16.2 points. The state of Nevada took its sweet time counting ballots, but that's okay because you count every vote. That's just the one thing I want to say, and I don't want to get political here. But as an elections channel, obviously I am committed to the greatest level of election integrity possible. And with part of that, you count every legal vote. And the winner should be declared not prematurely, but also promptly when the legal votes have been counted and a winner can be accurately projected. So the state of Nevada, well, and it's okay that it took its time counting because they needed that time to get it right. It went to Joe Biden by a lean margin, just under 3 points. I had it going by roughly 6 points. It went by about three. And that's because a lot of the Latino support, and we saw this across the country, although definitely with varying degrees. Joe Biden had a hard time showing up that Latino support. He ran uh, on average 4 points behind Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump made up 4 points. Joe Biden ran 4 points behind Hillary Clinton with black and brown voters. This was somewhat expected to happen, although he was expected to run closer to even. There really hadn't been too much polling done in that demographic that I thought there should have been, but he had a tough time showing up that support. Not so much in Nevada, though it did still go by a decent lean margin. This one, when all was said and done, actually wasn't super close. A state that was super close, however, was Arizona. Went to Joe Biden. I know some outlets still haven't called Arizona. I'm going to go ahead and call, unless something drastic happens, just because of the votes outstanding and the votes that we have, that Joe Biden will win Arizona by roughly zero point 0.4 points, which is about his lead right now. If anything, Donald Trump might make it 0.3, but it's still going to be a tilt margin. I had it as about a 2 to 3 point margin. Again, that support with Latinos just didn't happen. Also, point of interest in Arizona, the Democrats were widely expected to take the state house. That didn't happen. Why? Because Arizona was widely expected to go blue this year. This was the year it would become a blue state and it would be blue to stay. The state went blue, but only for Joe Biden and Mark Kelly in the Senate, which is coming in a separate video. The state actually stayed fairly conservative and again re elected a Republican state House majority here. it just essentially rebuked Trumpian conservatism without the expected rebuke of conservatism in Arizona. So, because of the close results in 2020, although again Joe Biden did win, and it's only going to become more Democratic with time, this state actually will be on my radar in 2024. Not necessarily as a battleground, unless the Republican is running well ahead of the generic Republican versus Democrat at that time, but we'll have to see, and it is not going to be as easy of a victory for Democrats as maybe expected. I think best case scenario for the Democratic Party in 2024, Arizona is like South Carolina in terms of its competitiveness. The state of New Mexico, I had it projected as a safe state, and it went by about 11 points as a likely. Again, that Hispanic support just wasn't there as much, and the white suburban support. This is another thing, that suburban voting bloc, and this is going to be really key when we talk about North Carolina, because those white, maybe a little bit conservative, suburban voters really decided North Carolina, and to a degree made New Mexico a little bit closer than I had forecasted, although including even giving Republicans a House seat pickup they were not expected to get. Xochitl Torres Small was favored to win re-election in New Mexico's second House district, down in the basically the entire southern portion of New Mexico. But Republican Yvette Herrell defeated Xochitl Torres Small in a surprise, not entirely surprise. It wasn't a huge upset, although it was an upset according to most forecasters. So Yvette Herrell will be the only Republican in that New Mexican delegation in Washington. State of Colorado, I had pegged as a likely both on the presidential and senatorial level by roughly 10 points, and that is pretty much what happened. The state went likely by about 10 to 11 points. Although what I was actually somewhat surprised of, I thought Cory Gardner would run a little bit ahead of Donald Trump. He did not, although it actually makes sense because Cory Gardner really hasn't bucked the party line at all. John Hickenlooper was a very popular governor, so really it doesn't surprise me that much reflecting on this election now that Cory Gardner was not able to make up really much of any ground from where Donald Trump ran in Colorado, which is going to be, I believe, a safe blue state in 2024. Utah, Wyoming, and Idaho, not really much to talk about here. In the state of Montana, actually went safe for Donald Trump by just a little bit. The state did go safe. The Senate race still went likely, but Steve Bullock did not run as far ahead of Joe Biden, nearly, in fact, as he needed to. I had Montana rated, I think, as either a tilt or lean Republican, but it actually went by a solid likely, roughly what Hickenlooper won by in Colorado. We're running a little short on time here. I'm going to try and keep these videos to about 10 minutes, so there actually may be a part 2 of this video. In fact, the more that I think about it, I think yes, there will be a part 2 of this video. I'm going to split it into 2 parts so I don't keep y'all too long. North and South Dakota, not too much to talk about here. Nebraska, just as I projected, Joe Biden did win that one electoral vote. The rest of the state did go to the president comfortably. And Kansas, I had Kansas. I had Missouri as well while we're at it. I had both of these states rated as likelies, and they both did go likely. Actually, Kansas is very close. Missouri is very close as well, so I'm going to mark them as likely until we know that they are safe, but they are right on the edge of that 15% margin, so Trump running maybe 2 points ahead of what I was forecasting here. The state of Oklahoma, Stephanie Bice in Oklahoma's 5th district, its most urban district, although that really isn't saying too much, was able to defeat Kendra Horn. Horn was generally a narrow underdog, although they were running decently even in the polls. Bice was able to pull it out on Election Day and will return Oklahoma's congressional delegation to its 2016 state of entirely Republican. The state of Texas, moving right along. Actually, I had as a lean by about 3 points. Donald Trump was actually able to win by about double that margin. So was John Cornyn. So I had Texas as a pretty much a true toss-up, if not even a lean blue in 2024. That is going to change as a result of this. This state is still in Republican hands so far. I know NBC moved it to toss-up. A lot of outlets did move Texas to toss-up. And to Democrats' credit, they did have a good ground game in Texas, but again, that Hispanic vote and that white, even moderate to conservative or independent suburban vote, which is so key, it lost the Democrats in North Carolina. I'll get to that probably in the next video, but it really single-handedly lost the Democrats in North Carolina, and there's an argument to be made that it's one of the biggest factors that lost them Texas as well. I will see y'all probably tomorrow for another video. We'll just go from we'll probably start in Minnesota and work our way south, then back up north to Maine.